Radio Hour. I am Tyler from down at Rent Right, and with me today is Mr. Bill Adams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tyler.
And Mr. Levi Taylor from Taylor Constructors.
How you boys doing?
Doing good, doing good. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening. So, Levi.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, my name's Levi Taylor, and I work with Taylor Constructors, and we build custom homes and spec homes in Giles and Murray County.
Okie doke. What all does it take to do that?
Well, we build from start to finish. We go out there and get power and water and everything you need to start building, and permits, and we dig footings and all the way down to turnkey, ready to move in.
Okay, cool. What size houses are you usually turning out?
We build mostly spec homes, so those are going to be 1,400 square feet, and then the customs we do are bigger, 2,500, 3,000 square feet range.
Okay, cool. So the reason I brought you in today is we're going to be talking all things concrete.
All right.
So beginning the project, what we want to do is we want to basically walk you through what it takes, depending on the size of your project, whether you're just pouring a patio or you're actually going to be pouring a slab or pouring footings. We just want to walk you through everything you're going to need to do with pouring concrete. So what are you going to need to start this out?
Well, the first thing you're going to need is a laser level, a transit. You're going to need probably a skid steer and some fill dirt or gravel to bring your pad up to level if it's not. And you're going to need string line and batter boards for squaring up your foundation or your patio or whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a laser level that you can rent at Rent Right. They're expensive if you just want to buy one outright.
Very expensive.
Especially if you're just going for a one-off. If just the small projects, so we want to have everything you need with that. We've got the skid steers, excavators, everything you'll need to be able to get your project started and off the ground from start to finish. So, footings, how wide do they need to be?
Well, generally, footings are going to need to be twice as wide as they are thick. So, generally on residential stuff, you're going to have a 6-inch thick footing, and you need to have them 12 inches wide. Normally, you do them 18 to 24. That's kind of the standard. It just gives you more wiggle room whenever you get ready to go lay block. You don't want to have your block layer down there laying on something that's, just barely wider than his block, So.
Yeah, especially with squaring everything up, because that can be a bit of a process. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to go out there and set up your batter board. You're going to set up like a 2x4 on each corner of the building, and then you're basically going to go through the Pythagorean theorem. So you're going to have, if it's
you're getting technical.
We're going down the weeds here. So if you've got a 15x20, your corner to corner is going to be 25 feet.
Okay.
So it's a 3, 4, 5. And you can find calculators to figure that online or Google or whatever. And then once you get your strings set up, then you're ready to dig footings or set forms.
Right. And so usually once you've got your strings up, you go and get you some paint and paint your lines and go around with all of that. So once your spot is ready, you brought it up to grade, you brought in your gravel, and you get ready to form it up. What's your process with all that if you're like talking about a slab house?
Well, what you're going to do is bring your jumping jack packer in. You can get down at Rent Right and pack that dirt up, and then you're going to bring gravel in, and you'll need to pack that, because when you bring gravel and you put it in, it's not going to be all set in not like a mesh. It's going to be It's going to be kind of fluffy, and so you're going to go in with that packer and pack it down, and it's going to vibrate those rocks together and get you like a nice solid base to pour your slab on.
Right, so really you're needing two different types of packers.
Right.
So when you get your footings, you want to pack the dirt if you're building up, if it's not undisturbed. It's even a good idea to do it even if you are. And then you just get a regular plate compactor to go over everything to get it level. But what's the best way to level your gravel? Because the laser transit is good, but it needs to be over the whole area. What's the best way to do that?
The best way is to set your forms up to your string line, and then just run a string line from each side of the form. And usually you want to leave one form off so you can actually get your machine in with the gravel, and then just rake that gravel. The thickness of the rake usually would be 4 inches, and you'll just rake it out to give you a 4-inch thick slab.
Right. So you're going to need, you can use any kind of rake, but a concrete rake is really going to be more helpful. It's one solid blade to pull and move and push your mud around. And so, yeah, they're usually, 3.5 inches, 4?
Yeah. Usually they're 3.5, and once you hit it with that packer, you're going to be right at 4 inches, generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after you get it leveled with your string, once you pack it, you're gonna take that down about a 1/2 inch.
Right.
And get you about where you want to be. It is important to make sure that it's flat and you're level. Otherwise, you create the places where it can crack where you don't want it to.
Right. And if it's 4.5 inches thick, you can be really off when you figure it on your yard count. So when you get ready to figure that concrete, if it's 4.5 and not 4, you're gonna come up light, which is always a pain when you're out there trying to finish. You're calling a truck back or, buying more bags or whatever it is you're doing.
Right. So when do you need rebar?
You need rebar usually in footings mostly. So concrete is very high in compressive strength and low in tensile strength. And rebar just adds tensile strength to it. So if you can imagine, like, a cable is high in tensile strength, and concrete is high in compressive strength. You can put a lot of weight on it, but if you ever try to bend it, it's going to break. So concrete rebar is going to add a lot of tensile strength to your concrete.
Right. And so what are the different types of concrete? Like you want it for so many pounds. Like there's different grades.
Yeah, so that's called PSI. That's pounds per square inch. Usually on a slab, you want something like 3,500 or 4,000. That's going to give you a better product that's not as likely to crack or break.
Yeah. And so when do you look at fiber? Is fiber something you use a lot? Is it a replacement for rebar or?
Yeah, it can be a replacement for rebar, but fiber just helps the concrete not to move, or, when it does crack, because it's going to crack, it'll just keep it from separating more than you want. Having big, giant, toe stubbers or, movement in your concrete.
So how much does concrete move? Like it's a rock, right? I mean, it's a fake rock, but it's a rock, right? How much does it move?
It moves as much as your base is packed. So if your base is not packed good, it's going to move a lot more on you.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So what about moisture? Does that have a big thing? Is it like, 2x4s will swell up on you. Like wood flooring, if the more moisture, it'll swell up and it'll go, and then when it gets dry, it'll shrink back down. Is there any of that in concrete?
Yeah. That's why concrete cracks. It loses moisture and it loses, it just shrinks, and so that it just cracks. That's why that it does that. So when your concrete starts curing, it'll just literally shrinks down. That's why in bridges and big long concrete pours they do control joints in them that actually account for the expansion of the concrete.
What bridge were you telling me about? That was like 5 feet overall, wasn't it? Not like
I think it's the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
They've got big giant iron interlocking fingers every so often in them, because the bridge actually expands 5 feet over the quarter mile that it spans over the river. And so during the summer, when it expands in the heat, it'll actually bring those fingers together, and then during the winter it shrinks, and it actually expands and shrinks 5 feet over that quarter of a mile.
Which is a wild thought.
Very wild.
You don't see it on more small scale things, but when you get to that big a distance, it's kind of crazy how much that stuff really moves.
Yep.
So now we've already got off in the weeds a little bit, right? Getting technical, but we're going to get more technical, because that's what we're trying to do, is give you as much support as we can. How do you figure out how much concrete you need?
So generally when you buy a yard of concrete from the plant, you're gonna buy it in a yard, so that's 3 by 3 by 3 feet. And without getting too technical, there's 81 square feet of concrete in a cubic yard. So whatever your slab is, if it's a 15 by 20, that's going to be 300 square feet, and you just divide that by 81, and then that'll give you your yard count. So if you have a like I said, a 15 by 20, that's 300 square feet. That's going to give you 3.7 yards.
Okay.
So you just divide your square feet by 81, and that'll give you the number of yards you need.
Okay, cool. And most concrete companies, they're not going to send out a truck with less than 3 yards.
Correct.
Unless you're like buddies.
Right.
You're not going to get less than 3. They're not going to leave the house for it. And so whenever you've got those smaller projects, that's where your bags come in handy. Now, what's cheaper, like all around, like trucks or bags?
Bags are probably going to be cheaper, simply because if you're pouring something small enough that they're not going to want to send 3 or 4 yards out, because they will send out a yard generally, but they're going to charge you for 3 or 4, whatever their yard minimum is on that. So, yeah, if you're pouring 2 yards, it's cheaper to just get the bags and pour it yourself, mix it, go down to Rent Right and rent you a mixer.
That's it. The concrete mini mixers. So the mixers that we've got, they take 2 80-pound bags of concrete. Now, I've mixed concrete in a wheelbarrow before.
Not fun.
Not fun at all.
At all.
It'll wear you out.
And it doesn't do as good of a job either.
Okay, why is that?
Well, you just don't mix it as good when you mix it by hand usually.
It's just like, well, thanks. Like, really, you think you got it?
I had to. I just had to.
You don't mix it as good. Thank you.
Yep.
That's why I got him. He's the bright one.
I think it's funny.
So when it comes to working it, how long does it usually take if you've got, say 3 or 4 yards? What from start to finish, when you start pouring it, how long does that usually take to get a job done?
That completely depends on the weather.
Okay.
If it's hot outside, it might be way faster than you want it to happen. If it's cold outside, you may be sitting with it a while. Generally, if it's 65 degrees, if you pour, 5 or 10 yards, you can be in and out in 4 or 5 hours pretty easy, depending on the type of finish you're using. If you're using a broom finish or a slick finish, broom finishing is definitely the fastest.
Okay.
So you can broom way earlier than you can get off with a trowel or troweling machine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, probably 5 hours is a good ballpark.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so whenever you go to work in it, you're going to need a float, a magnesium float, some thin floats. Mm-hmm. We've got those to sell for your projects that you've got. We've got those and the concrete rakes. We also rent bull floats and power trowels and the Vibra-Screed. All those things what does a Vibra-Screed do? What's its purpose?
Well, a Vibra-Screed is a tool that is very underrated, and most people don't know about them. But when you use one, it is life-changing because it takes, one guy to screed concrete with a Vibra-Screed. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's wet enough, you just literally put the thing on the concrete and start it up, and it vibrates. It's like a vibrating screed rod. And what it does is it pushes the rocks down and pulls the cement to the top. So basically, it just gives you a better finish all around.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it also will place your concrete together and make it more solid. So if you just screed it with a 2x4, it's not getting those rocks all together, and it's going to leave voids in it.
Give us some idea of how do you know when it's time to trowel it after your concrete's poured. It's in the forms, and you've pretty well positioned it with your rake and your float. How do you know it's time to get on it with a Vibra-Screed or even the troweling machine?
Well, as far as the Vibra-Screed goes, you want to get on it as soon as it's ran out. So you run it out of the truck and then rake it out as flat as you can, and then you run the Vibra-Screed across it. And then after that, when you get ready to trowel it, there's a very scientific method on how to do it. Just stick your fingers in it.
Oh,
You just stick your fingers in
the
it.
cat running across the
Yeah,
wet
cat running
concrete.
across it. If you can stick your fingers in it and you don't pull up anything when you take your fingers off of it, and it seems pretty tight under the bottom, it's pretty much ready to get on.
So just touch it.
You just touch it. Yep. You just gotta.
If you
just gotta
sink,
feel it.
you're in trouble.
Yep.
You better get and start floating it back over and getting everything
Yep.
put back. So, how long does it take to trowel one? Like with a power trowel, it makes it a lot quicker because otherwise, I mean, you have to get out there on slides and do it by hand.
Right.
But how long is that process?
That doesn't take as long as doing it by hand, obviously. The good thing about a power trowel is it actually can flatten out your concrete more after you've already got it placed. So, especially on the bigger 36-inch or even the riding power trowels, those things can actually get humps out and make it a smoother product after you get done. But it takes probably 2 to 3 hours to get like a glass finish on it.
Right.
And obviously when you're doing that, you wanna hit it with some water while you're doing it, because you can really damage the blades if you're trying to get it to a really slick finish.
Yeah.
You can really tear up those blades if you don't hit with some water while you're going.
Right. And we put a little diesel on the blades whenever we get them back, and we get them cleaned up to keep it from rusting, so that whenever it gets out there, it's ready to go and clean and ready to do its job. Because it's work.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
no,
one thing that we really pride ourselves in, is understanding the need of having good equipment ready during those concrete jobs. And it's crucial that that concrete is drying quickly. You talked about those warm days,
Right.
and there's no time built in for error. So we're aware of that at Rent Right.
Yeah, you don't want it to get ahead of you. We've definitely been in some situations where time's not your friend.
No.
But we've also been in some situations where time still wasn't your friend. It just took too much of it. So, Levi, you remember when we had that fun pour over in Pulaski?
Yeah, that was a problem.
So when did we decide to pour that?
We decided to pour that about 3 weeks after it was too late, and we should have already had it done because we were waiting.
Right?
Basically, it was dead of winter, and there was just, we were just waiting and waiting and waiting to get it poured, and so we just decided to bite the bullet and go ahead. And it was it was below freezing. It was 30 degrees, something like that. Just too cold to be pouring concrete.
Basically, right? And so everybody said, don't do it, you're crazy. Right? Remember the concrete guy, we got the concrete, he's like, don't do that. But we decided to trudge on, and that put us kind of behind, didn't it? So we bought blankets. They make blankets for concrete.
Yep.
To put over it to try and keep it warm, because as it's curing, that concrete will heat up, right?
Right.
And so it's still not going to fight whenever it's that cold. So when did we start that pour? Like,
We started that pour about 9 o'clock in the morning.
what time did we leave?
We left about 10 o'clock the next morning. We spent all night out there, and we went down to the Yellow Deli and got some coffee and had
It's
a
a
good
good
night.
thing it wasn't Saturday. We would
Yep.
have been out of luck. But I went down there a little after midnight, because every couple hours we're going back out there with a power trowel to try and keep everything going. And then when we got done that day, we had a couple other guys that didn't get finished till that afternoon.
Yeah, they were out there troweling till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on that one.
And so that's a big thing. Your timing is important.
Very.
Whether it's the hottest time of summer where it'll get ahead of you, so that you're trying to get it finished to where it looks like it's something worth having. And then there's other times you just let's wait a week or two. Let's let the weather change around, because no matter what you do, you can't change the weather. You may like to try, but we're kind of at that mercy, and that's kind of everything we do in our business with rentals, from trenchers and all the different equipment that we have.
Excavation.
It's very weather based. So that's always important. You can't always plan out that far ahead because you don't know what it's going to do, but you definitely look for the good days because sometimes you just have to power through it, and there's some times where you probably should not.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody, Tyler, they can see a lot of our equipment. We're updating our website as we speak, and you can go to rentrightequipment.com and check our website out and get some really good ideas on equipment that we're talking about today.
Absolutely. We've got everything. We're getting pictures uploaded so that directly from the website you can see the brand, you can see what the equipment looks like so that whenever you come out and get it, you know what you're getting, what you're looking for to help you. So we want to offer that, and then we also try and give you a crash course in how to run the equipment when you come and get it. Because a lot of us, you're doing these projects, you don't do them every day. See, Mr. Levi here, you've poured a lot of concrete, and you're really knowledgeable about it, and so you know what you're looking for. But if you don't pour concrete all the time, you don't know what to expect. And so we want to give you everything that we can to help you succeed in your projects and make you the hero.
Also supporting fantastic contractors like Levi. We work closely with companies like Taylor. Yep.
Absolutely. So what do you mostly do with a broom finish? What is the most applications for that? You're not going to be doing that in a house.
No, mostly that's going to be on things you're going to be walking on, like porches, sidewalks, things that you want to be kind of slip resistant. You don't want to be, stepping out of your house and slipping on your front porch. Mostly stuff like that. And then slick finish is going to be like your shop floors and garages and that kind of thing.
Right. And so,
let me ask this question, Ken? Frame houses versus slab houses. Do y'all build both type structures?
We used to build a lot of slab houses.
Okay.
And we've gotten away from that mainly because it's difficult to run HVAC in a slab house because generally the HVAC goes under the house. And if you're doing HVAC on a slab, you got to go in the ceiling.
Yes, sir.
And there's water pipes that got to be in the ceiling too. And, getting away from some of that stuff, if you've got water pipes running in your walls, they freeze and it causes more problems. And you have to level the pad. And if you don't have a level lot, it's more feasible to just put it on a crawl space.
Frame's way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So what is happening to make concrete cure? So it comes out in mud, and then it turns into a rock. What kind of breakdown? What do you think? What is that process like? What is it doing?
I honestly don't know exactly. It's a chemical process, and there's a lot of science behind it, but I honestly don't know what makes it harden. You put water in it, and it's Portland cement and fly ash and aggregate, but I honestly am not exactly sure on the whole.
We see a lot of contractors come through that are sawing concrete for different reasons, and talk to us about that, Tyler. Diamond blades and different saws that we have.
Right. So we've got your Makita cutoff saws. So those are your handheld 14-inch diamond blade saws for just cutting up any kind of concrete. If you've got pads you want to cut, or you've got some sidewalk you want to remove, and you can just cut it. And we've also got jackhammers and breakers to break it all up if you've got some concrete you just want to get rid of. And then we've got the stand walk behind floor saws with like an 18-inch blade, which if you're cutting a lot of concrete, it'll save your back completely. But what's the best time? You've got a new pour. Why do you cut your concrete?
Well, you cut it because it's gonna crack, and you want it to crack where you want it to crack, and not some ugly, spider crack running down the middle of your new concrete. So you need to cut it, and generally you want to cut it within 48 hours of pouring it, because that's usually before it's gonna crack on you. So you want to get it cut within 48 hours, and adding fiber. Going back to that, adding fiber to your mix does help a lot when you're cutting, because what tends to happen is when you go to cut it, it'll spald up, especially when it's really green. It'll start flaking up the rocks out of the concrete, and so adding fiber will kind of keep that concrete together and make that line a lot neater instead of it just flaking up.
Right. Yeah. Because anytime you have those humps, you've got those places, it makes it harder when you're putting in flooring.
Yep.
And everything else. And that's why you want that slick finish
Right.
in those places, because it's going to make the contractors that are coming in behind you, right, that are going to be laying the floor and do all that. Not only is it going to give you a nicer product when you're walking into the house, but it'll make it easier on everybody putting it in there.
Right.
Because that's a big thing. If you are in any kind of contracting, the people that come after you are always either happy with what you've done or they're a little bit upset.
Right.
Because they'd be like, this guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. So that's always important.
And if you don't get it perfectly flat, you can always just get a concrete sander and just grind it down. That's
Which we have at Rent Right.
That's right.
Yeah, we've got the Dyke 8-inch floor grinder. And so even at the shop, we had a sliding door and put in the concrete. The way it was already, it was too high. And so we took and cut an 8-inch channel through the concrete so that your doors and things could open the proper way. And we've got other kind of sanders. So I get some customers that come in and they ask for a floor grinder. I'm like, how much concrete are you actually trying to take out? Like, I don't need to take much. I just want to rough it up so that I can finish it, like stain it or seal it. And I always point them to, it's called a floor polisher. We have a 17-inch and a 20-inch. It has a pad that goes underneath it, but we also have sanding screens that go up under there. And so it's orbitable, so it goes in a circle and spins. And that's better if you're just wanting to rough up the concrete for your sealer. You don't want to take off too much concrete, because whenever you do get into grinding, you're going to take off that top layer of cement and you're going to get down and you'll be able to see the rocks and the aggregate that's in there, and that's not really what you want when you're going to seal. So what other different like methods of concrete, like you walk through a sidewalk and it's got all those like pea gravel, I guess, in it. What is that called?
That's where you take and when you get ready to finish, you spray it with a solvent, and then you actually go back and pressure wash that top layer of cement off, and it exposes your aggregate. And it's basically just another finish that is similar to brooming it. It just gives you a nice non-slip surface, but it looks better if you use pea gravel in your mix. I mean, it's not going to look good if you use limestone. So you need to put that pea gravel in there before you go doing something like
Most
that.
of the aggregate we use in this part of the world is limestone.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
I
yeah.
mean,
Just
we
drive
have,
people asking.
we have a county called Limestone County, and it's because they've got some limestone.
Right.
Right. It's pretty simple when it comes to that. But do you talk about stamping? Like what is all that? We're talking about finishing concrete, so go into stamps.
Well, stamping is a lot of work when you just get right down to it. When you get ready to stamp concrete, it's a whole lot of work. And you can get stamps. You can rent those from your concrete plant, usually. And what you're generally going to do is just you're going to need like a release agent. So you got to keep your stamps from sticking to the concrete. And so you'll use something like a spray-on release agent. It's basically just like a oil type of substance that you spray on the form and then you spray on the concrete. And then when you stamp it down, you pull it off, and it'll be like this nice little bird pattern or whatever stamp you chose.
Yeah, and so those things are the things if you want to pour you a patio or a sidewalk, it's those things that, yeah, they may be a bit of work, but it takes your curb appeal or how it looks and it just raises it up a notch. Just to make everything look better, and you can be happy with it. And if you want something that looks like bricks, but you don't want to lay bricks, you can take care of all those kind of things. And so now we're getting into it. How long do you think concrete's been around? It's trivia. Been throwing some trivia. You're going to love the answer I give,
Is
too.
it back
I
to
promise you.
Solomon's time?
you're going pretty far. Yeah.
Okay.
It's even further that they say. Okay. So the short answer, which is bad for trivia, is we don't know, right? It's too old. So they've shown that even like concrete-like substances for mortar that were used on the Great Pyramids in Egypt. They used a lot of different kind of mortars, and you see it used in small places. You see some in the Middle East, like around where Syria is now. They've got some really old places that have done that, and then the Greeks have done it. Even the Mayans in what is now Mexico, they've seen, and there's records that they've found they had poured concrete flat roofs and floors. But the people who really took off with it were the Romans. They wanted to do everything the best and conquer everybody in the process and turn them all into good Romans. But they really did well with concrete. And everybody, they say it's a mystery on how they made it. And they've come up with it now that one of the secrets is that they use that volcanic ash. And because that was one of the things you mentioned, or part of the things of it is ash and lime and all that kind of stuff. And so they use those volcanic ash and seawater, and it would get stronger over time. That's why people ask, like, I had to do my research and go Google and all this stuff to talk about concrete. It's not something you do every day. You might, I don't. But I do like my history, so you go and dig, and it's like it gets stronger over time. And that's one thing concrete does now. Your concrete can cure, and it can take years before it's completely. And that's why you want to cut it within that 48 hours, is because it's not cured yet, and it's soft enough that, one, you're not going to tear up your blade, and also it makes it a whole lot easier and a lot less time consuming to cut it when it's fresh.
One thing I've learned too, Tyler, is the type of blades that you use to cut concrete. Diamond blades, actual diamonds, and a lot of diamond blades, they're very expensive, and but the amount of diamond that are in the blade will determine the price of the blade, plus how long it'll last.
Right.
And then there's something called aggregate. I know we have aggregate in concrete, but also that's what holds the diamonds in place on those blades. And it's very important that you match the aggregate to the style of concrete that you're cutting. You don't want to use the same blade on asphalt as you would concrete.
Right.
They're going to wear differently. So there's some thinking that has to go into that, isn't it, Levi?
Yeah.
On these jobs.
Absolutely. It's important to do your research and to study all those different kind of things so that you get the best result.
Sure, we can help you. RentRightEquipment.com. Make sure you call us. We're at 721 Buffalo Road. We've just been there 45 years, and we would love to try to help you just with great equipment and also information as we're sharing today.
Absolutely. So if your head's not hurting because you've listened to us talk about concrete for the last 38 minutes, Levi, tell us a little bit more about Taylor Constructors and the vision for it and what all you do.
Well, we build, like I said, spec homes and custom homes, and we do a lot of the work ourselves. So we have a lot of in-house contractors that, they're on staff. So we do all of our own siding, and I pour a lot of the concrete, and we do all of our own excavation and do all of our own trim. And it really just gives us a better product in the end, because we're able to control a lot more of it. And so there's a lot more attention to detail, and you can go to our website. It's taylorconstructors.com, and you can see some of the stuff we've built, and we're really proud of the product that we put out.
Yeah, that's important. Whenever you have pride in your work's better.
Right.
And people come to trust you because they know you do quality work. And so that's one thing that we strive for at Rent Right, and I know you do at Taylor Constructors, is to put your money where your mouth is, to pay attention to the small details, to really be in the business of service, right? Because that's one thing I think that's very important that we try and do, and that's why we come on here and we tell you about all these different things, the technical parts, the equipment that we have to rent, is because we truly want to serve you. We want to help you get the projects done that you want to get done and not break the bank while doing it. And if we can provide you a service and you pay us for it, guess what? Next time you need a service, we're still there. Because if we didn't care, we wouldn't have been there for 45 years.
Yep.
And so in this community, that's what we try and do. We're all here to help each other and to get things done, because the work's always going to be there, right? The work's always going to be there.
Yeah, yeah. Number of houses. I want to ask that question that are going up these days. There seems to be shortage of apartments, and you were saying earlier before we started, your specialty on spec homes is 1,300 to 1,500 square feet. Tell us about the number of homes available right now, maybe in Lawrence and Giles County, and maybe the needs.
Well, there's a definite need for small single-family affordable homes, because most of the houses out there, if you can find them, are going to be really expensive, and there's really not a lot of inventory out there as far as housing goes right now. And we're noticing that with us building spec homes, there's a lot of need for houses in the $200,000-$300,000 range, that because most of the people we sell those houses to are they're in their 20s and 30s, and they've never bought a house before. And it's really cool to see somebody 28 years old with 2 kids buy a house that's brand new and it's their own. And it really makes you proud when you drive by and you see all these houses and all these kids playing in the yard. And it's just we feel like we're doing a really good service, because there's not a lot of that out there, and there is a housing shortage. I think the interest rates have gone up in the last few years, and a lot of people have stopped buying because they can't afford a $350,000 house payment. So if people aren't buying them, builders aren't building them. So we've tried to keep the price of the house down lower, just because people just can't afford them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything we do at Rent Right, again, is to help you and to serve you. But how many houses has Taylor Constructors built? And how long have y'all been operational? Just give us some rundowns on that.
We've been doing business for about 5 years, and we've built, I'm trying to think, probably 30 houses. And those are anywhere from, we've built as small as 1,000 square feet up to, we've got one going in Murray County right now that's 3,000 square feet, and it's got a 1,400 square foot garage. And so that's kind of where we are as far as numbers.
We see in Lawrence County, I'm sure it's the same in Giles, a common young family wanting to build a home. It might be a situation where grandpa gives them 5 acres off the family farm. What are some of the first things that young family would need to do? Maybe they're right outside of town. Where do you start?
Call Taylor Constructors.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
The first thing they need to do is they need to survey that land off, the first thing, and then they need to find them a builder and find them a lender. You need a lender if you're going to be borrowing the money for the house, and then you need to pick a house plan, and then find a builder who can quote that house plan. And they're out there. There's quite a few builders who are quoting house plans right now, because there's not a lot of building going on, and you just you need power and water. And yeah, if you need a house or you're getting ready to build one, just give us a call. Our number's 931-309-3443, and we'll quote you a house plan.
That's great. What's some of the equipment, Tyler, that we have that can help with power lines and getting ready to put in underground power and that they might need, or even footers. What type of equipment do we have at
Right.
Right?
So we've got a mini excavators, which if you're putting in underground power, you're going to want to dig a ditch that's big enough for you to get in and lay the pipe in. Also, clearing, making sure that your way for the power, if you are going overhead, they need a straight shot. And how wide is that the right of way that the power company needs to run poles?
Generally, it's a 50-foot right of way. If they're running just a power line, it's about 40 feet. So you're gonna need 40 feet from one tree line to the other tree line. So 20 feet on either side.
So they've got enough room to run it through there. So that means cutting some trees. We've got stump grinders for taking those down so
Very
that they can
handy.
drive through there. Even if you've just got stumps in your yard, a tree's gone, and you just want to get rid of it, we've got everything with that. From the skid steers and the mini X's to dig your footings, get everything. We've got different buckets to go on each one, so depending on how wide your footers you want to be 18, you want to be 24 inches. We've got all those different options to help you with all of those kind of things.
The house is already built. We've been living there a couple of years, and we decide we want to add a barn out back. And what's the process of maybe adding on a barn and underground electricity out to the barn and water? What's the process in doing that?
Yeah. Basically, it's like everything we've talked about as far as making sure that getting your spot level, deciding on what kind of barn. Are you going to go for the pole barn? Do you want to pour your concrete first, which is usually a good idea? Or do you, because it's a hassle once you've already got a shell up and you want to go and try pour concrete inside it. That can be a bit more of a challenge. So it's just how you want to build it, how much you're going to have to bring your ground up, or how much chert you're going to have to bring in to get all those things up and ready. Levi, you got anything you want to go with that?
Just if you're in a county where you need a permit, get a permit.
There you go.
That's the first thing. Just get your permits. You can stay out of a lot of trouble just buying your permits and getting your inspections.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. Call your local health department for sewage, and those guys do a great job. They'll draw it out for you. It's money well spent on the front end.
Yep. Call 811 whenever you get ready to dig.
That's right.
For sure.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught hitting a gas line.
I
That's
have
not
to
fun.
say, Bill gave me that advice one time
I did.
at Rent Right. I'm just going to add that in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
811. Maddie needed to call 811.
I really did. It wasn't good.
So what else is going on with you, Bill?
Well, it's springtime, and I want to remind everybody about Hustler Mowers, and we're your Hustler turf dealer here in Lawrence County and surrounding Giles County, Lawrence County, Wayne County. We service Murray County and also North Alabama with Hustler Mowers. So the maintenance season has started. Our shop tech, Keith, is wide open, and we're right on the edge of busting it open. I think we've got a special or two for February on service. Is that right,
That's
Tom?
it. February, through the month of February, if you bring your mower in for service, you get $20 off. Excuse me.
$20 off, and we will pick up and deliver if needed.
Absolutely.
Our turnaround time, we're trying to keep it as short as possible, get them back to you. But I highly recommend getting them on in February, March. You may be mowing grass second week of March.
Absolutely.
And so let's get those machines serviced. And it's fascinating to me how some Hustler customers, they bring mowers in that are 20 years old. They run just as good today as they did 20 years ago. Some people are fantastic on service, but some of you are not. And those are the ones that we need to see in February. So give us a call. We can help you out.
Yeah, come on in, get the jump on it. You don't want to be stuck as soon as grass starts growing and you go and try and crank it the first time and it won't.
Yep.
That's always a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's working. Make sure you keep a maintainer on your batteries
Yeah.
through winter, because the cold will definitely zap a battery.
Yeah.
Because it's frustrating. You go and start that thing, and it's like, why won't it start? It's like, well, did you take care of it?
Yeah.
It's the questions
Yeah.
you've got to ask
Yeah,
with all
parts
that.
and service, we'll be glad to help you there. Again, if it's a project, service that you want to do yourself, we'll be glad to walk you through it. We keep all the parts in stock, service kits. Kawasaki, Kohler, we've got Kohler parts
Yep.
we can help you with. And we can also sell you engine parts for other brands. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Hustler product. If it's some of the other brands that are out there, we'll be glad to sell you parts, Kawasaki and Kohler parts for those engines.
Absolutely. We're expanding our service. In the past, it's been bring your Hustler, your Kawasaki, but now even bring your lawn tractor. Anything like that, we will service. We want to take care of you and make sure that all those things are maintenance so that you can keep on cutting grass down the road.
You got some specials right now on Raptor, Hustler Raptor residential models. Tell us about the 3 different Raptors that you carry.
So we have the Raptor X, which is going to be your baseline. We have those in a 42 and a 54-inch cut, and then you jump up to your Raptor XD, which is going to have heavier transmission pumps, and you can get that from a 48 to a 54 to a 60-inch cut. All of those are going to be rated for 3 to 5 acres. So most yards in town, you're looking at an acre, half an acre. So even buying that residential, you're still getting something that's going to do more than you expect it to, which is always good. You have something that's a little bit overkill, and then it serves you longer, it lasts you longer. And then you get to your Raptor XDX, which they've all got a welded steel tubed frame. All of the decks are welded steel. The Raptor X has an 11 gauge steel. I think once you get to like the Raptor XDX, your deck steel is going to be, I think it's a 9 gauge. So that's really thick. All of those are welded and made here in the US of A.
USA.
Keep the United States working, right? Not farming it out to everybody else.
Made in Kansas.
Kansas.
Built in Kansas. Yeah.
Yep. So we've got all those different kind of things. All of our financing runs through Sheffield Financial. Can do 48 months, 0%.
0%.
Yep, 0% interest. So all of those kind of things are going. And yeah, come on down to Rent Right.
One of the things too that we've seen through the years is the zero turn has only been out for 20, 25 years. And we still have some hesitancy, very little. Probably 90% of the mowers that are sold now today is zero turns. But there's still that handful of folks that they're holding back, hanging on to that steering wheel. They want that steering wheel mower. We've got some new models coming in, and we made a deal on them just this past week. And do you want to introduce that like right now?
I think that's a good idea. So we are now going to carry Troy-Bilt mowers. Troy-Bilt's a name that's been around a long time. Everybody's heard it. My granddad, my papa's got a Troy-Bilt tiller that he's had since I was knee-high to a boll weevil, right? So we're going to bring on that line. So we're going to have those tractor-style lawnmowers. We're going to bring in a couple of tillers. And we're also bringing on DeWalt tools. So all of it's going to be the 60-volt flex. We've got some weed eaters, chainsaws, blowers, and a bunch of other different equipment as we're testing the waters with these. And through the month of halfway through March to halfway through April, whenever you come in, you're going to get $350 of DeWalt credit when you buy your Hustler mower.
So you can go shopping.
That's it. You can buy a mower and then get a weed eater thrown in.
That's great.
A weed eater and a blower.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we really like about DeWalt is that most people have them. It's what I've used most of my life is DeWalt tools. And the batteries interchange. So the 60-volt flex you can run on your drills or your impacts and all those different kind of things. You like DeWalt, Levi?
Yep, I got 15 DeWalt batteries sitting out there in my truck right now.
You got enough?
No.
No. Well, come on down to Rent Right as soon as
That's right.
we get them in. We've got them ordered, and they're going to be coming in soon. So we're going to be rolling out that line. You'll be able to see those nice red mowers and those yellow tools.
That's right. I just ask folks, just consider us. RentRightEquipment.com or 721 Buffalo Road right here in Lawrenceburg. You can find us on Google. If
Yeah.
you want to do the Google thing, you can find us. Or you can just pick up the used to be the yellow pages, but you pick up your phone now and find us, right? So Tyler doesn't even know what a phone book looks like, Maddie.
I do too.
So
We
That
had when
doesn't
I was
shock
a
me.
little kid.
Okay, so the reason why I'm texting was because I had some information I wanted to share, but the number was so big in my head, I felt like I was like conflicting myself that I was wrong. They expect 800 new homes in Lawrence County within the next 5 years.
right.
And I mean, I was sitting here thinking, I know I've heard them say this over and over as many meetings and stuff that I've been in, and I'm like, 800 homes is such a huge number. But with Magna and everything coming in and surrounding counties and Spring Hill growing, they expect 800 new homes in Lawrence County within the next 5 years,
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, and I would say we have a lot of quality builders in Lawrence County, just like Taylor
Yes.
and construction. And so if you need recommendations on concrete people or excavation people or a builder, call. And there's somebody that would always fit your needs.
Yes.
But we'd love to sit down with you and talk about the different equipment that we have to offer, and also talk people. So we see a lot of people every day.
That we do. A lot of people coming in and out. So where are y'all located at Taylor Constructors?
We're out of Pulaski. Yep. That's
So
where.
where all do you build? Do you have like only certain areas that you build in? If somebody wanted to call you, like what are your counties that you go to?
We'll go to Murray, Lawrence, Giles, and those are mostly, as far as we like to drive mostly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So Lawrence is not too far a stretch for you.
no, not at all.
Y'all hop over here. So yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming in and giving us all your expertise. What does it take to learn all this stuff? Like, how long have you? What kind of diligence do you have to do to try and learn a lot of this stuff?
Well, just working with a lot of contractors. YouTube's a great resource. If you want to learn about concrete, it's a great resource. But just getting out there and doing it, really. That's really just what it boils down to.
Yeah. Get to it and do it.
That's it. One thing I want to mention too is going back to excavators and little backhoes and things. We deliver those. We'll be glad to bring them out to you. Instructions involved too. So we have a lot of customers that we call them weekend warriors that want to get it going on the weekends. So call ahead of time. You'll need to reserve those. Pretty weekends they normally are gone. So let's get you on the schedule. Call the Rent Right number, and we'll be glad to get you lined up on equipment.
Absolutely. Our delivery rate is if you're within 8 miles of our store, it's $40. If it's
fair.
above that, it's
That's
$4.50 a
That's
mile.
fair. Yeah.
And that's for all the equipment, no matter the size.
Yeah.
We'll bring it out there to you and teach you how to use it.
Right.
Walk you through the project. We're out there. We can show you what to do. Be like, where do I get started with this? Well, you can do this and that. And so we're more than happy to give you all the information that we have at our disposal to make your life easier in the work that you do. So yeah, that's what we do.
RentRightEquipment.com.
.com.
Right. There you go.
Close.
That's right. That's
Y'all ready
good.
to sign off?
I don't have anything else to talk about, Tyler.
Yeah, I think you got anything, Levi? You want to?
Nope.
You could have done this all whole hour by yourself.
That's right. We appreciate all of our fantastic customers, and we do a great job. We've got really good employees at Rent Right, and the customers are fabulous. So just give us a call, 931-762-8187.
That's it. So come on down to Rent Right. We can help you out. In 1978, Rent Right was founded by Jerry and Pat Adams with